20 bucks. 20 bucks. They're on the line for 20 bucks. They keep on playing, but nobody's paying. Hi guys, it's Jabor from Montreal, and I hope you're safe and well. And maybe we will get to meet up again in the very near future. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Anyway, I'm Maggie, Mrs. Calabash. Come into my kitchen. Today we're going to be making something a little bit different. It's pork tenderloin in a pepper sauce and Japanese sesame spinach to go with it. So let's go back to the stove and put the pork on to start to cook. I'm using tenderloin today and I've cut it up into bite-sized pieces, so come back with me. Just trim off all the fat, so come on, back over with me. And in here I've put some oil and some butter. Now if you put the oil with the butter, it stops the butter from burning, so you get that nice buttery flavour with the oil, but it doesn't burn. There we are. I've had the heat up. I did just melt it. So here, look, there's the pork, just in bite-sized pieces. I like using either loin of pork or tenderloin. It's really tasty. So I'm just going to, I want to just brown these a little bit. We can leave these on here for the moment, just cooking nicely. The heat's not too high, so they're not going to burn. And you see, I've got my nice little spatulas. They're incredible, really. They're meant for children, but they're heat resistant, and I find them just the right size in the skillets to turn things over. So I've got quite a collection now. I keep adding to it. There we are. I don't want to cook that up too fast, so let's just let that simmer nicely. So back to the butcher block. And this goes in with the pork, and it's got jalapeno peppers. I've got jalapeno peppers, red peppers, garlic. I'm making half this quantity because the recipe actually serves 8. So, and there's only 2 of us, so I'm actually doing half the recipe. So we've got jalapenos, garlic. That is going in there in a minute. A dash of hot sauce, any hot sauce. And if you don't have any hot sauce, don't worry, a pinch of cayenne pepper will work. Turmeric and cardamom. So here we go. I looked at my food processors and thought, which one do I use? One's a little bit big and the other one's just that little bit too small. A good slug of white wine makes all the difference. Cardamom, seasoning and turmeric. And some hot sauce. I can't remember how hot this one is, so there we are, a good pinch of hot sauce. If it's not hot enough, we can always add a little bit at the end of cooking. So it's going to make a noise. Let me just have a look at that. Yes, we want a rough paste, so let me just get rid of that. That pork is smelling delicious. We'll remove this because I need the my small food processor for the other one. Look, so it's a rough paste like that. You want to be able to taste everything. So let's just take out the blades and clean them. We don't want to waste anything. And put those over there. And let's take this back to the stove. Now the pork is just browning nicely. I'm going to turn that down for a minute. Whoa, it's spit me. And in here I've got onion. A bit of skate. So we want the onion to cook. So I'm going to move it over onto the other burner. This is where we have to do some switcheroos around. Let me move this over here. This one over there. There we are. And turn that one off. I don't need that one there for the moment. We'll put that there. I'm just going back to get the recipe. Let's just keep stirring that until everything is cooked. And actually, I'm going to put its lid on because I just want it to... I know the recipe said add more butter or oil when you put the onion in. I like to, as you can see, I fried the meat off, sautéed the meat, added the onion, and I add it all together because all the juices, I like all the juices to be together, and I like the onion to have the meat juice with it. So that's going to cook gently for a few minutes. So let's just go back to the butcher block. Come back with me. And I just want to make sure that I've done everything correct. Stir the pot, add a little onion and pepper strips. I knew I'd missed something out. That's why I have to check the recipe. And look, I tick everything off as I get it. So back with me. Sorry, Derek. I'd forgot these. And these are quite important, the pepper strips. They add a nice flavour. Now today I'm using red pepper, but you know, if you've only got green pepper in, or a yellow pepper, an orange pepper, by all means use it. The recipe says red pepper, but you're not bound by that. You don't want to have to go out to the shop to buy a red pepper just to cook up a little bit of pork. Now, we're going to make some space because now whilst that's cooking, we're going to prepare the bits and pieces for the spinach. So I need to put this on low, and it's a dry skillet, and this is just a little spice skillet that I've got. I keep it for roasting spices, and we want to get that warm. And I've got some sesame seeds. So we're just going to roast the sesame seeds. That burner is a little bit large for that size pan. There we are. It's getting nice and warm. The sesame seeds, by roasting, it brings out all the flavour. And don't forget, if you buy any roasted seeds in the grocery store, there's tax on them because they've had an extra step done. So if you buy raw and roast your own, you're saving the tax. I learnt this in England. Excuse me. I started off with my own herbs and spices and rubs on a market stall. And the VAT man, which is like the HSG, the tax man, came round one day because there was tax on medicinal herbs, but not on culinary herbs. So I said, okay, excuse me, the herbs are getting, the spices are getting to me. And I said, okay, so what's a culinary herb and what's medicinal herb? Well, of course, mint is an additional herb. I said, it's also a culinary herb. Well, sage. I said, okay, you make sage tea and gargle with it if you've got a sore throat. And we kept going through all these different herbs and spices. And he said, I give up. He said, forget it. Just go on as you are. Forget it. I don't want to know. So I said, thank you. But I'd seen him hanging around the market stall. And I thought, I wonder who that is. He was obviously official of some description. Now, these are toasting nicely. And they're going, if you're not careful, they pop out. There we are. I'm just going to turn that down. So, these have roasted nicely. And look, they're starting to pop up, so you know that they're there. You have to be careful not to burn them. It's very, very, very tempting to think, oh, I'll give them a few more minutes, or I'll give them another second or two, and then you get them burnt. So have a little, it doesn't have to be a skillet, just a small pan. There. Lovely. Right. They're done. Now we need just put those there. Just let them cool for a minute or two. And this is the spinach. And so we're going to actually grind down the sugar and the soy sauce for the spinach before we cook the spinach. So I bring on my small food processor. And bear with me whilst I change. There we are. There we are. So I'm going to put the sesame seeds in there. Let's get rid of that. Some soy sauce. Ideally, you would let the sesame seeds cool, but I wanted to do it in front of you. And a little sugar. I know, I don't normally put sugar in, but this really does need the sugar. Make sure that the blades are well inserted. And we're going to have some noise again. I'd like those to grind down just a little bit more. Actually, it would be better to put it in my spice grinder, but my spice grinder is a coffee grinder, and it's not very good with liquid in, so, but it would grind the seeds down a little bit better. But let's try again. There we are. I like to be able to taste the sesame seeds. There we are. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of these. And we'll have a little taste of that just to see if it needs anything added to it. This is a nice way of eating spinach. Oh yes, it's lovely. It's got a nice nutty flavour. Now, if you've got somebody coming for a meal, I know I keep saying this, and you don't know, ask them if they've got a sesame allergy. And if not, don't do this dish, because I had a friend, and her husband was having bagels, and he had a sesame bagel with some smoked salmon and some grapes for breakfast. She picked up a grape off his plate that had been near the bagel, and the bagel had sesame seeds sprinkled on the top, and we had to rush her into hospital. She was just so allergic to sesame seeds, and yet she didn't think that the grape had been anywhere near the bagel. So just be a little bit careful. I know I put a friend of mine in hospital with allergies, so I'm always so careful now. So let's go back and have a look and see how things are cooking. We've got in here, we've got the spinach. So I'm using frozen spinach today. The fresh spinach was, it looked a little bit tired. So I've used frozen spinach, which I've defrosted. And just put this in like this. And I'm going to add the sesame to it now, because that's it's not going to take any length of time to cook. If I'm using fresh spinach, then I'll just rinse it, shake it dry, and I won't bother putting any more water in. It will wilt just with the amount of water that's on its leaves. That is going over there. Ow. Let's just turn that down a little bit. Put that over there. Now we've got to have a look at this and see how this is cooking. Let's move this. That is pasta that I've cooked, and I just cooked it and drained it, but it's not been rinsed because I want the starch onto the pasta so that all the sauce clings to the pasta. There. You see, the onions have browned nicely, and so has the pork. So let me have a taste of that pork and see if we need to add any seasoning at this stage. Where's a nice piece of pork? It's cooked, but it's hot, and it does need a little seasoning. It's tasting very bland. Now, seasoning is a personal taste. This is why I never put a tablespoon, a teaspoonful of salt in, half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoonful of salt to one person is so salty it's not true. And especially if you've got a heart problem or a kidney problem, you don't want to be eating salt. So I always put to taste. And that is rather like putting in spice. It really is a guideline, and it's to taste, because I have a high tolerance for spice. I think I've got a higher tolerance than you, don't I, Derek? Yeah. And so I'll sometimes spice something and Derek will say, oh, and I sort of say, well, what's wrong? It's okay. No, it's fine. So now we need this to come up again, and I'm going to taste this. We might have to add a drop more hot sauce. I don't know. It depends how hot that hot sauce was. I normally make my own, but we had some in, so. I like, instead of hot sauce, I like using the chili and garlic mixture. Yes, it's got a bite to it. We just need to cut that out a little bit more. Let's just want to make sure that the peppers are cooked as well. But this is a lovely dish. As I say, very quick and easy to make. And in summer, you're not overheating the kitchen. That's what I like about these dishes. I love my steak and kidney pies and things like that, but in summer I don't want the kitchen to be so hot that I can't get in there. And again, this can be eaten with, I'm putting it with spinach, but you can eat this with a salad. I'm putting it over noodles today. Rice, couscous would be equally good. Even with some potato, yeah, it's adaptable. Now we need to taste that. That is the spinach, just to see if it's cooked. Should be. It only really needs heating through. That needs a dash of Mrs. Calabash seasoning. Yeah, 3 salt, 1 pepper. Just needs a little dash. Another taste. That is so nice. And spinach, I'm going to give it another little dash. But spinach is so good for you, and it makes a beautiful accompaniment. There we are. I'm going to let that just simmer for a minute or two. Let's take this over onto the butcher block. Don't forget, if you're cooking pasta like this, you're cooking your pasta and you switch it off, switch it off, just make sure that the pasta is not quite cooked, because as long as you've got it in a hot pan or hot water, it's going to continue cooking. So you can end up with pasta which is really, really overcooked. If you just cook it to the right right amount, you think, oh yeah. I like to do it and rinse it before I and drain it before I start cooking something quickly like this, and then it's not quite such a mess in the kitchen. So let's go back to the butcher block. Ha ha! Fortunately, the handles of that pan, they don't get hot. So I like to have a nice serving dish for this. We need a spoon, and let's put this into the serving dish. Get rid of that. Bring another one on. Now, you see it's joined together a little bit. So I don't have a fork here, but let's just separate the bows. I like the pasta bows. I know Derek's pulling a face, he would have it on spaghetti. Spaghetti addict. I mean, ugh. I like spaghetti, but no, not all the time. I like a little bit.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, well, sorry, no. I like pasta. I'm not over enamored with pasta, but I will eat it probably once, maybe twice a week, not for every meal. I probably wouldn't do very well in Italy. Now, let's see, what do we put on next? Turn that off. Let's put the pork on next. So I want to put the pork down the middle, like that. Look at that lovely colour. Get rid of this. And we bring on the spinach. I like the red and the green to go together. So I'm going to put the spinach down the side like that. This is nice. This makes a nice Christmas Eve. I know it's summer, but it makes a nice Christmas Eve dish because you've got the red and the green together. And it doesn't take a long time to get ready. I'm getting very lazy, you know, very, very lazy. I used to spend all day in the kitchen. Now, I like the juice from the spinach because it's going to go down onto the pasta and just make the pasta nice. Get rid of that. A little paper to wipe the edge. Just clean the edge like that. And what have we got here? I've got some chopped onions and some pepper slices. I don't think we're going to need tomato with this. So let's put the onion on the top. So we've got the green there. And let's just put some pepper slice on there. So we've got the red on the pepper. And please enjoy. And don't forget, go to Mrs. Calabash Cooks on Facebook and like and share with a friend. And please tell any comments what you like, what you don't like. And I will see you again next week. Please stay safe, stay well, and enjoy. And there we are.